It was 8:46 in the morning.
And then we heard a plane come over, and in Manhattan, you don't hear planes too often, especially loud ones.
Two, one. This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the two towers. A huge explosion now raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way!
I don't have a radio enough, so. Hey. The North Tower is waiting.
Oh my God, there it goes!
Martian approach.
Hey, this is Dulles Approach Control. We're tracking a fast-moving primary heading towards the White House. The White House has been advised.
All right, I'll tell him.
Change.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep you advised.
Thank you very much.
23402 Graham.
Hey, Tower, did you see that?
Hello?
Crystal City, just north of Crystal City.
Just to the north of your tower. Just
Hear that?
Do you hear me?
Yeah, stop all departures.
Stop all.
Yeah, went in the Pentagon. Looks like it went in the Pentagon.
I just saw the smoke come up, and the explosion shook the house clear over here. They ran one into the Pentagon and into the World Trade Center, and we're watching it on TV, and this one happened.
What do you think that this country needs to know about the men and women who were on board Flight 93?
They're all heroes in my eyes. They really are. They all pitched together, and they did what they thought was the best thing to do at that time. And I feel that Todd played a great role in that, because when he told the guys, "Are you ready?" I assumed that they were waiting on his cue. Then they responded to him, and he said, "Okay, let's roll."
Well, that was a bunch of video Brian found that I'd never seen before. September 11th, 2001, I was driving a crane truck for company United Rentals. And I had already been working for a couple of hours. We're West Coast, so every day I listened to Howard Stern in the morning. He'd come on at 4 o'clock, and I'd listen. And every day at 6, the show would restart for drive time in the Pacific. And right before it was time to switch, Howard Stern had said that an airplane had hit the World Trade Center. At the time, just like everybody else, I thought, well, weird. How does somebody run a plane into a building that big? Didn't really think much of it, and the normal jokes were made on the show. Asian pilot or a bad driver or whatever, it was the Howard Stern show. And then the second plane hit, and it was just sort of, oh wow, this is serious. And they decided not to restart the show, which I knew kind of gave me that cue, like, yeah, all right, I'm not the only one that thinks this is odd. There's something going on. And sort of got out of my cab, my truck, did the deliveries or whatever I had to do at work, got back in. And by the time I got back in the truck, I do believe the Pentagon had been hit. And I'll never forget it. My chills went up, and I just said, this is... My first thought was Pearl Harbor. I'm a student of history. And I said, we've been attacked, and at the time, the news started filtering in like, oh, there's multiple airplanes out. So I got my truck. By now it was daylight here. I drove directly home with my big rig, parked it on a residential street, walked in the house at the time. My wife at the time was watching Golden Girls or something, whatever, in the morning. I said, hey, turn on the news. I turned on the news, and I watched for about 10 minutes, and then the first tower collapsed. And I remember my reaction to it was, I can't sit and watch this anymore. I need to go do something. And so I got by my truck, and if I remember correctly, work had recalled us on our radios, like, everybody come back. And because at the time, there was all kinds of rumors going around that there was up to like 9 planes that aren't being taken care of. And then you hear that they're grounding all traffic throughout the country, which is unprecedented. They never did that. They grounded every airplane that was in the sky. I know some of you guys that watch this show, there's a generation gap. You guys don't remember September 11th. If you did, it's just this foggy thing. And I know that there's a gap in anger when you're dealing with people me or Brian's age. You may not really just get that the hate. To be honest, the hatred that I feel for terrorists and stuff like that. Throughout this entire little episode, I'm going to be playing the names of everybody that were lost in September 11th, 2001. It's not going to loop. That's just how many people died in one day, and actually in a matter of an hour or so. My anger has never gone away. Every September 11th this time of year, I get just as angry, just as furious. We had the benefit in World War II where we had a government. I mean, the politics was just like it was then, but like when we went to war with the Japanese and the Germans, the media was on board with it. Both sides were on board with it. So we were able to do a very simple thing in World War II, and that was dehumanize the enemy, which made us very effective. The Germans were all weenie dog eating, beard guzzling, like effeminates. And the Japanese, we had cartoons of them. If you look at like Popeye cartoons and stuff, they made them look like monkeys. There's a reason for that. It's propaganda. We were able to effectively fight them by dehumanizing the enemy, which is very important in war. One of the problems that we had after this, I don't want to go too far in the weeds. This is about September 11th, but I feel like almost too soon we made a decision not to dehumanize the enemy and allow them to be humans. And that way, I think it made us ineffective. And here we are, 2018. And this happened when my son was in 2nd or 3rd grade. There's a very good opportunity, now that he's 22 years old, that he's going to be deployed next year to Afghanistan. That's how long the effects of September 11th has happened. So my son, who was relatively safe on September 11th, 2001, more than likely will be going into harm's way next year in Afghanistan. And it's because I don't think we've ever taken it. I have internalized it. I hate, and I'm not even ashamed. I hate because of September 11th. And I'm not embarrassed. It's not Islamophobia, or you can't put words to the hate I have for it. My country was attacked, the country I love. The only good thing that came out of September 11th was September 12th. It was the first time and the last time in my entire life that I saw the entire country come together, regardless of race, religion, whatever. Everybody was American on September 12th, and it lasted for a good long while. I'm just afraid that we haven't learned the lessons of, we haven't. Not until we're really willing to take on the enemy. And now there's a whole generation of people that don't view our enemy as enemy. In fact, they view their own country as a bigger threat than the actual enemy of our way of life. I guess it's going to take a tack to make you hate too. War is an act of hate. The people that planned and flew the planes into the towers and into the Pentagon and hated this country. The Americans that you saw at the end of the video sacrificed their lives because they loved their country. They wouldn't allow attack to continue. They knew that the planes, that their plane was destined for either the Capitol or the White House, and they risked their lives by assaulting the attackers on the plane and drove that plane into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Those who refuse to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And if you don't take the time on September 11th, especially if you're one of the generations that don't remember it, your generation is going to experience your own September 11th. That's all I got for that one. Bri?
Well, I woke up on that day to my sister. I was living at my sister's house, and I woke up to her coming and screaming that the Pentagon just got hit. And I had no idea what was going on. And so I got up and I turned the TV on, and the first thing I saw, and I was just going over this with Matt the other day, and my sister also was. The first thing I saw was the second plane hit the second tower, but that was just I'm now realizing it was just a replay, but that was the first image I saw, was that plane driving itself right into the tower. And then I worked for a travel agency that day, and for that at that time, and I was sitting there, I was watching, I called my boss, and he's like, "You need to come in. We need to do something. We need to get flights for these people." And I tell him, I said, "They just grounded all air traffic control. There's nothing we can do for these people right now." And it was a really strange day. I remember going over to my parents' house and watching this, and we sat there, and and unlike you had to get out of the house, I sat there. I just sat there and watched it, and we watched it all day and all night. And I didn't go to work for 2 days, 2 or 3 days, because there's nothing we could do. Air traffic was grounded for what? 4 days, I think, after that. That never happens. You could go outside. That was the weirdest part of this, was you go outside and you look up at the sky and you listen. You don't hear anything. You don't realize how much noise air traffic makes in your area, between helicopters, between just the traffic of airplanes. You don't realize it. And then all of a sudden you go outside and there's a sound missing. You do not realize, and it's an eerie feeling. Every year we watch these videos, and a few years ago we sat down with Jessica and Savannah, and it's my daughter and Matt's stepdaughter, and we didn't realize that they were born, but they didn't understand what had happened. We sat down, we had them watch these videos, and they were all kind of shocked on what actually happened. And it's just, I get really angry talking. It's really hard for me to talk about this. And, you know, over the years, over the last 17 years, I've actually met a few people that have kind of, you know, that they were affected by this. People that I work with now that I talk to when I go back to training and stuff, and they lived in New York when this happened. I never met anybody that lost anybody, but I do know people that have, you know, down a few lines, they did lose people, and it's still those people. It still affects them to this day, and we get these people's it's tough to talk about. It's so.
There's a lot of things that have come out of this that I don't think people realize that are even stuck in them. I know one of the lasting effects, like a side effect, from September 11th and the amount of news that we consumed the following weeks was the Fox News ding. Every time I hear that now, it's like Pavlov. I go, oh shit.
Something's going on. Yeah.
Something's going on. And unfortunate, not cool of them. I think they're very aware of that effect left over from September 11th. Another unfortunate thing that comes out, and I had this out with somebody, I know you feel exactly the same way as me, is what happens inside me every time I hear somebody with their 9/11 conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah, the 9/11.
They might think it's cute, and they may have thought that they are onto something, and they may have seen a movie, Loose Change or whatever, but that convinced them of something. Especially when I hear somebody that didn't live through it or they were too young to remember, trying to tell me that I watched the planes fly into it. I have a better perspective of history, being like, you know, I know that George Bush was only in power for 8 months, whatever. Something happens inside when I hear somebody try to... it's one of the few things in life, if I'm confronted with it, that I'm on the very edge of a fist fight almost immediately. I'm not convinced that I won't be in a fist fight in my life with a 9/11 truther. It infuriates me.
I mean, I have family members that I've gotten so angry with about this that they really believe this. I mean, I'll laugh at you if you think we never landed on the moon.
The world is flat.
But the reason why I made this video too, I found some of these video clips that I'd never seen before.
Now, I've never seen any of those, really,
and
except for the first one.
You cannot deny you can see these planes fly into these buildings.
Right.
And
I think a part of the problem with the younger generation too is CGI.
Yeah, that's true.
You're so used to seeing disaster movies and stuff like that on a large scale that you're kind of numb to it. Nothing ever, other than like Hiroshima and Nagasaki, has been so devastating on actual human beings. Now, we just wanted to make this video to show, you know, we make a lot of fun. We make fun about a lot of things, but you know, particularly everybody, the 343 firefighters and all the cops, EMS, and that volunteered, well, and the people on Flight 93 that voluntarily gave their lives on September 11th.
I mean, even the civilians in the buildings, they went back up and helped to get people out that were trapped.
Yeah. So this is for them. This is, I don't believe in moment of silences.
No, I don't either.
But this is our hats off to you, and we will never forget.